Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the day after the night before. Yes, the day after Liverpool have beaten Real Madrid, sent Xabi Alonso, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. and the rest of those tits packing. I am joined, as always, by Josh Williams for this one. It promises to be a fantastic deep dive. We've got so much to talk about from last night's game, Josh, but before we sort of get into it, like, how much fun did you have last night?
It's the first positive deep dive we've done in like a lifetime, innit? Like, when was the last one we had? Last time we had something to celebrate?
I don't know, mate. It's been a long time. Like,
yeah, it was a really good game, though. I thought it was boss. Proper Champions League game. Felt like a bit of a knockout match. Two good sides, actually. I thought obviously the result doesn't suggest it, but I thought they looked properly coached for once, whereas previous seasons they just look like a mishmash of players with a manager who just kind of deploys them in a certain way and they go from there. But I thought it was an interesting match, two well-matched teams, lots of belter individuals everywhere. I thought you saw that at certain points, but I thought Liverpool deserved to win, which is the main thing.
Absolutely. So the manager came out and said, actually, after the game, I said to the players that the only thing I did not want was a mid-block. Those two up front, and he was talking about Vinicius and Mbappe, have deep runs. I've had them before, normally after a curry. Unbelievable timing and incredible pace. It's the closest I'll ever get to a deep run. So we either press them really high or sit in a low block. So never give them space. And in the few moments you do, take it away, because 24 goal contributions from 26 goals tells you everything you need to know about these two. He's so honest after wins and losses, to be fair to him. But it's really interesting that he said that, isn't it? It's just like, none of this mid-block crap. We either win the ball high or we go into a low block and defend, and we saw that.
Yeah, I love that comment. I think that's very, very interesting for him to admit that. I shared it today, the actual video on Twitter, and I had them classic comments with people saying like, lad, stop talking about your tactics. He's revealing secrets and that. I don't think it's quite as in depth as that, where he's revealing anything dramatic, but the fact he just says it, I think, is very interesting, because it's the kind of thing that I don't think you usually see it, really. I think, like, I posted today that I don't think Klopp ever really did that. Klopp ended up in low blocks, but on any given opportunity, it felt like under Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool immediately would try to climb the pitch. So wherever the ball is, it would always be a pressing approach, and it would always be force them back, climb higher, get away from your own goal. But Liverpool took the approach of like we press them high, and if that doesn't work, we drop completely, basically cover the defence and don't allow any space in behind. I thought that was really insistent and very practical and streetwise as well when you actually look at the way the game played out. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, listen, it's easy to say over the last sort of 4 weeks or whatever, but like, they could really hurt you on transition, Real Madrid. And so the fact that we were so willing to just quickly get back and make sure that those spaces weren't there, it makes sense, doesn't it? I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
I would much rather prefer that than the approach of something that's a bit more perfectly philosophical, a bit more utopian, where you just like, no, you just almost blindly saying we stay high because that's the way we do things. Slot has been a bit of a throwback, I think, at times, where he's just looked at what the opposition have got and been like, no, we're gonna drop you.
And I think the interesting thing to sort of counteract that and why it was, where I sit for the cup games, mate, it's bang on the halfway line, up a Kenny, dead fucking good for sort of a tactical overview of the game. We totally did this as well. Like, them guys really high up, and even at times they'd have the ball there, and at times we'd be like that. And then it would look like, oh, right, they're going to play it long because they're not interested in the high press, and we just run straight back into this position and just sort of do it as best we can, actually, and just throw bodies back and stuff. So I just thought it was really, really interesting that it was one or the other, because, I don't know, it was... I think if you think of it, like, from an Mbappe perspective, he did pick up the ball on a few occasions, like here, maybe, and they had one or two shots from outside the box and things like that. But if you're stepping up to engage, like, that's sound, but then suddenly you've got the space here then, and then you can get him in there. So you've almost got to pick
the worst case scenario and avoid that one. The worst case scenario for me was Mbappe running in behind, Vinicius running in behind. So you drop deeper and you kind of accept that they're going to have periods of the ball here ahead of you. But Liverpool generally, whenever they drop into that, they're quite good because Van Dijk can just head everything away. Kanate is a good low block defender as well. Robertson's a great back post usually. So I think it ended up benefiting Liverpool, and we saw similar at the Etihad last season when we had a lead and things. Just a very streetwise approach, as I said, and
Absolutely.
bit of a breath of fresh air, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go into some stats and stuff, and then we've got absolutely tons to go through on this show today. So we're going to go through some stats first and foremost. So we'll get that graphic up on the screen from Opta Analyst. You can see we won the XG battle, but we didn't win the possession battle. They had 61% of the ball to 39. Again, that might feed into the fact that we low blocked it. But we had 2.5 XG to their 0.45, 17 shots to their 8 shots, 9 on target to their 2 on target. That makes some very, very good reading for us, really, Josh, doesn't it? Especially, you can see, you've just been talking about it there, Josh, where we allowed them to have the ball, where Mbappe sort of found himself. And you can see, if we can just bring that graphic back up, please, Aaron, you can see that their shots on that right-hand side are pretty much all in the area you just spoke about. All right, there's a couple inside the box. Bellingham's was just on the edge of the 6-yard box and stuff, wasn't it? But when you compare that to where Liverpool were able to get to centrally, I mean, I know which one I'd prefer.
Yeah, that's a masterclass. That's a brilliant performance. If you can create those shots and you can restrict the opposition to creating them shots, you're going to win most weeks. Liverpool's 17 attempts to Real Madrid's 8, and crucially the XG on that. Liverpool's 17 shots worth about 2.6 goals. Real Madrid 0.5 at best, maybe 0.4. In other words, you've kept a clean sheet there unless someone scores a worldie. So when you think about the players Real Madrid had, Bellingham, Mbappe, Vinicius, even like Valverde, right back, Goulet, they're serious individuals, lots of talent in there, and for them to create virtually nothing when they've only lost once all season, I think, as well. And I think recently as well, they dismantled Barcelona, who you could argue did employ a bit of a naive, super high line, offside trap and all that sort of thing, and you just cut them open. So Liverpool going a bit, the opposite way and just absolutely done them. So that's a proper performance that we've been lacking that all season.
So I suppose what I want to say to you is, how do you think he set the team up? Because if I'm being honest, I've seen a lot of things online about it's the same as last season. It's the same as last season. Slot's realised, just go back to last season. It's not the same as last season for me. There are differences and quite stark differences in how we are. I think in possession it's very, very similar to last season with a few little twists. Out of possession for me last night was completely different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, at times it looked like this, I would say, where it was a bit of a 4-4-2. Wirtz on the left, Szoboszlai in touch with Ekitike. Sometimes it looked a bit more like that. Kind of like 4-4-1-1 almost. And then crucially though on the ball, this fella who I'm sure we're going to touch on was kind of allowed freedom of the park to swim, and that kind of gave Robertson the entire left side of the pitch to manage on his own, which is interesting because we did similar against Palace recently where Kerkez did it and we got battered first half, something like 4 big chances. It was awful. But if you go back to the shot map visualisation just quickly, virtually no attempts at all on Robertson's side. They're all on the side of where Liverpool were kind of playing normally, if you want. So the fact that Robertson didn't really get attacked, you had Valverde right back. I think right wing for them was Camavinga
in the first half. Then it moved to Goulet, and then Goulet moved on there, and then Rodrigo came on and went there, and Mbappe had a little run for 10 minutes over on that right-hand side instead of trying to buddy up with Vinicius. Basically, half the team had a pop at Robbo, and he repelled them.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting looking at that shot map there like that. Is that because Liverpool's plan worked, or did Liverpool's approach work because Real Madrid offered no threat down there, if you get what I mean. Because Palace had...
Chicken and the egg, innit, I suppose. You put Camavinga
exactly,
there.
Exactly. Palace had Munoz, who was a huge threat for them. And Sarr was helping out as well a little bit, who's, always has stormers against Liverpool. So, if we do it again, it'll be interesting to see if we can cope with everyone playing just as well, but if that team just had more of a threat on that side. But, lots to consider there with that. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a few things as well. Obviously, I had a really great view of the game last night, as I mentioned previously. And I think nominally, we set it up like that, and that looks very much like a last season sort of starting 11. But when you actually dig into it, apart from the things that you mentioned going into the different formations, there was another one that I think was maybe used even more, right? And that one for me was Wirtz here. And we saw this with Gakpo.
Yeah.
Was that against Palace as well?
It was, but we also did this last season on the other occasion. I think the first time we saw it, because I covered it on my Substack, I think it was Brighton.
Yeah.
And that was around the time I was writing every week about Liverpool press getting opened up shortly after we faced Chelsea and got battered by Chelsea at Anfield. Well, not battered, but we got outdone, I felt, even though we won the game. And Slot did like this weird lopsided, like 3 over there and 3 over there almost. But yeah, I didn't even pick up on that.
That's what we did a lot of that, because Szoboszlai was the player that was generally pressing through the centre. Obviously, Ekitike did it at the time from Mo Salah as well, and we sat in that formation quite often. And I before we cover this, I've got some screen grabs to show it. I did just want to show the pass map, because that shows some of the on the ball stuff as well that you've picked up on already there, Josh. So if we get the pass map up now, look where Robertson is compared to Conor Bradley. He's on the halfway line. He's 15 yards further forward than Conor Bradley. You can talk about why, and we will do later on in the show. But I think the midfield 3 on there, on the ball, looks like a midfield 3 that we've become accustomed to. There's a few things on there that I picked up on, Josh. The centre-backs not having enough passes to each other.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
That is fucking odd.
Yeah. When you said that, I didn't even... when I clicked on the agenda and I saw that, I thought, oh yeah. They're the only 2 players on the whole pitch without any connections between each other, really. Other than that, there's a lot going on. A lot of players in sync, so...
And that's really unusual. I don't know whether that happens on pass maps very often. I don't look at them as much as I used to, if I'm being honest. But I can't remember ever seeing 2 centre-halves not pass to each other, because it's normally minimum 5 attempts, isn't it? And this is up to analyst as well, so it's a trusted source.
Well, especially like, the modern game as well, where like, you're baiting the press and you're kind of enticing the opposition to come onto you, and Real Madrid will press. So that would ordinarily come with Virgil and Canate playing with the ball with each other and asking the likes of Bellingham to come onto them and stuff like that. So obviously it didn't really happen in this game, but it didn't really sting us. We played well regardless.
Yeah, but look at Virgil van Dijk's biggest, thickest line. Can you see that, everybody? It goes in to our number 10, Alexis McAllister. And I'd happen to have a guess that hasn't happened this season. That's an unusual... That's an unusual pass for your centre-back to keep making, because he's not the deepest of the midfielders. You'd expect Gravenberch to have more off your centre-backs. But again, look at Konaté's. To the other 8, you could argue that Konaté's biggest line is to Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at that thinking, okay, right, am I seeing too much into this? The centre-backs aren't passing to each other and Liverpool are going to their 8s, essentially. That's fascinating to me.
Well, I think a key point with this as well is, I think for most of the season, it's felt like Liverpool haven't really had the left side. I think Kirk has struggled to develop relationships. Gakpo is impossible to connect with for the most part. And McAllister's been off it all season. So in this game, we had a bit of that back. We had Robertson back on the pitch. Loves to overlap, loves to underlap. If there's anyone who loves to connect, it's Wirtz, and you had him on the left side. And you had McAllister playing like his usual self. He even scored a goal. So compared to other games, this was very different in the sense that the 3 players who were playing on this side of the pitch actually had triangles between them and relationships between them. And for most of the season, that hasn't been the case. So it'd be nice if that persisted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about McAllister in depth a little bit later on, and just going to go to the next graphics, if you don't mind, please, Aaron, because this is sort of showing the press there. You can see It's Ekitike, it's Szoboszlai, and it's Mo Salah trying to get around the centre half, and you can see just left-hand side of frame towards the top under the scoreboard, Florian Wirtz in that sort of three-man midfield there, while the press goes ahead of him. It's about 9-10 minutes into the game, I think. You move that on now, and they give the ball away. You can see the three players, and you can see the midfield three in a better line, which is why I've kept that still in there. You can see there that it's Ryan Gravenberch, it's Alexis McAllister, and it's Florian Wirtz. So we move on to the next one. They give the ball away, and instantly Szoboszlai starts to come back towards the ball, and Florian Wirtz starts to go. And that's what I think why it was such a brilliant performance, and we'll talk about this a little bit in a second. But as you move it on to the next graphic, you can see Szoboszlai's there, and Wirtz has changed his position. He's gone 10 yards further forward, and he's come inside as soon as Liverpool have won the ball. And in the final one, we pass it to Mo Salah, and he's now in the centre. In fact, he's right of centre as Szoboszlai came back to the ball. And it was that sort of willingness for me from Dominik Szoboszlai to press on, to lead that press, but also for Wirtz to go to here and to here, and back here and here. And it was such a brilliant performance by both of these two lads, because the running that they did, actually, I don't know whether I can skip forward and show this graphic now, mate, but thank you. They were the two biggest runners on the night. Now,
it's a good start, that, isn't it? The distance covered.
It's a great stat, and I called it distance covered, and I was going to put a picture of you on it, and I ran out of time. So
that's about way, to be honest.
11.37 kilometres for Wirtz, and Szoboszlai 10.61. Tchouameni and Bellingham the next two after Ekitike and Gravenberch. So it sort of proves the point is those two lads had the hardest job, because they were constantly climbing down the pitch. But it was a brilliant performance from both of them, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Szoboszlai has been brilliant all season, but that's the role that we recognise him in, and in that role he can take part in the high press, which is especially useful against a team like Madrid who we're going to build, against a team like Aston Villa who we're going to build. You've actually got the best press in the team in a position where he can press, and Wirtz is in a position where, like, when he's got the ball, he has a bit of a safety net behind him to take care of him almost, whereas if he's in place of Szoboszlai, that's just a bit less the case. If he loses the ball, it's a bit more in danger. So I can see exactly why it worked. I can see why it might keep working moving forward as well. But he's very different to Gakpo, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hesitating getting into the Wirtz chat because there's so much on it. I'm going to let you dictate when that happens, but
honestly, now's the time, mate. Let's talk about it, because listen, I think both of us have been fairly vocal that the left wing isn't probably a position long term for Florian Wirtz. What you want him to do is potentially find space in the middle of the park, and Slot seems to have found something where he can do that. Whether that's the long term thinking, I personally don't think it. I don't think it was the plan. I'll say that. I'll say that, but you play the hot hand.
Yeah, I think he's in a position where he's got loads of belter players, and he wants them on the pitch. He wants them benefiting each other, but finding a system where they all thrive is difficult. I've said that multiple occasions now. The reason why I haven't looked at Wirtz on the left side as much of a solution is just because we know what an Arne Slot wide player looks like, and it's generally someone who's pacey, someone who's direct, someone who gets to the byline, gets shots off, can go both ways, can run in behind. Just a generic, there's a lot of players like that out there. You think of Madueke, you think of Semenyo, you think of Savinho, Doku, Oscar Bob, but players like that, they are Arne Slot wide players. And the reason they're Arne Slot wide players is because a lot about his game is associated with kind of clogging the centre, forcing the opposition to do the same, to accommodate. And then you're left with that little one-on-ones out wide. And Wirtz is tricky, but if you put Wirtz in that position, he won't really maximise it like Sadio Mane would maximise it, for example. Yankuba Minteh used to maximise it for Feyenoord when Slot was there. So I've looked at that and thought, right, that's really key to Slot's kind of game model, or whatever you want to call it. Wirtz can't really do that. If you allow him to come inside and Robertson's that guy, Robertson can't really do it either. Neither can Kerkers really. So it's just a dynamic ultimately that you don't want to play with. You want to kind of keep Gakpo out there, keep Wirtz inside, because Wirtz is very good in small little pockets. He dictates the game for you if you let him. Lots and lots of touches. Roams a ton. These lads over here tend to just stand there. They just wait for the ball. They're just waiting. And Wirtz is not that kind of player. So that's all basically why it's not really been for me. And long term, it's still not for me. Because if you want an Arne Slot wide player, I don't think you buy Florian Wirtz. I think you buy someone of the ilk that I've just mentioned. So I don't think it was the plan for Wirtz to play there. But because of what we've suffered from this season, you want to get back to some sort of stability. You want to get back to a bit of a spine. And I think what's integral to that are these three players.
Yes.
This midfield department. So I think you want to keep that in place and almost, in the meantime, use Wirtz as a bit more of a forward as opposed to a midfielder. Because if he's not playing well here or it's not working here or whatever, it shouldn't hurt the system as much as if he was there. So temporarily, it works. And it's the right thing to do at the moment. But I'm with you. I think long term, I think one of the reasons he signs for us is because Bayern Munich offer him that, as in the left at least, and he's not keen on it. One thing I will say in terms of Slot, deserves credit for, is yes, Wirtz played out here,
yeah,
but he was free to still be Florian Wirtz, which is really important. If he was stood out there, I'd be in the middle of the deep dive now in tears, because it's just the absolute waste of a really, really smart, really clever player. So you're still giving him the license to roam. But yeah, there's tons in there as to why it can't really be a long-term fix.
Absolutely, and listen, we can look at some of his passes now. We can bring them up, and again, you can see it illustrates, I think, perfectly what Josh has just said. You know, there are passes on the right-hand side, there are passes through the centre, there are loads of passes from the left-hand side, because nominally, that's where he started. But you could see, even if you remember back to the still images I've just shown you from the game, he ends up in the 10 position. Now, of course, he's going to be in and around that left-hand side, but having that ability to get over to the middle is brilliant. If we move on to the next one, key passes. These are the key passes. Now, slightly more to the left, 3/5 to the left, 2/5 to the right-hand side, and the one from the right-hand side really should have been an assist, because there's a great save from Thibaut Courtois on Dominic Szoboszlai. Now, Wirtz led the team in key passes with 5.
A key pass, by the way, is when you set up a shot. So it's basically an assist without the goal. So it's not just an important pass. It's one that results in a shot.
So he had 5. Salah had 2. Szoboszlai had 2, and each of the fullbacks had 1 each, to show you the difference there. I'm going to show you his recoveries as well, because he has 6 recoveries on the day. And again, that one for me illustrates a high press at times, and it also illustrates, I think, where he was when we went to a sort of defensive formation, because they're all that left mid sort of position, aren't they? He was joint second on the day for recoveries for us. Ibu had 8, Bradley got 6, Dom got 6, Gravenberch got 6, as did Florian Wirtz. So, massively involved in everything that we did. But I don't know about you, fucking hell, they were great together.
Yeah.
McAllister and Wirtz.
Well, that's what I envisaged as we started the season. I was thinking, like, McAllister feeding Florian Wirtz in these pockets of space, it'll be great. But we haven't seen McAllister this season properly.
We have now,
yeah. He's arrived finally. He unlocks Wirtz in the process, which is really nice. But yeah, I mean, he's a top player. Like both of them, brilliant. But I think moving forward, it's going to be interesting, because if you use, I suppose it's nice in a tactical sense, because you've got the option of Gakpo, who will do traditional slot wide stuff, and you've now got the option of Wirtz, who can overload the middle of the park, push him up and stuff like that. But I suppose, like, when it comes to a long term fix, I think an example I'll give you is if Wirtz is over here and he's going all over the place, that results in him having to do that, which impacts the results of the behaviour of him. Mm-hmm. Now, in this game, go back to your pass map from earlier, if you have a look at that, Bradley is the deepest player other than Ibu. It's not a coincidence that both of those two are the deepest players, because that's where Mbappe and Vinicius were.
Yes.
So Bradley remained deep in this game, so that's why it worked. If, for example, this was Frimpong just outright can't do that. Got to be there. So you've got a bit more of an issue there if Frimpong comes into the team. But to be fair, I think Bradley was that good that I think you could now argue, could Bradley do like almost wide centre-back bits at times for, like Robbo did last season?
Yeah, okay.
So if you do more of that, where like, not necessarily full-on wide centre-back, but let's say Bradley's there, Ibu, Virgil, that then would allow the left-back, if it's Robbo or Kerkers, to go up, and that would allow Wirtz to then come inside.
And the interesting thing about that is, it might showcase a little bit more of what Milos Kerkers is about.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the reasons I've been against doing this is because it kind of forces the right back to be defend. I mean, you could use Gomez there. Gomez would be interesting to use there, but that kind of setup wouldn't bode well for Frimpong, is what I'm saying. Liverpool haven't really got the fullback profiles that want to really defend, like a Timber or a White or something like that. Yeah.
Cape, I mean, Arsenal got them all, that's why.
Yeah. But one of them would be helpful at the minute. But yeah, long term, it's going to be curious to see where it goes. I mean, if I had the opportunity, that's what I'd be asking Arne Slot. I'd be like, Wirtz played on the left in this game. Does he have a future there? Is that the plan? If not, where's he going to be? Because I think one of the reasons Wirtz wanted to sign for Liverpool is because he kind of got promised
the centre of the park. He got the centre of the park last night. He had to work damn hard for the opportunity to get the centre of the park, as we've discussed. Yeah. That's the Florian Wirtz sort of section of the show wrapped up. We do have so much more to talk about, though. We're going to talk about the back four. We're going to talk about Conor Bradley. We're going to talk about Andy Robertson in full. We're going to talk about returning the Mac properly, McAllister, Mo Salah as well. So if you've enjoyed the YouTube section of the show, then you can get the full video on redmenplus.com, and you can get all of them without adverts and stuff as well. All videos, all podcasts ad-free on redmenplus.com. Thank you so much for watching. That was a clip from the deep dive. To check out the whole show, head to redmenplus.com or click the link in the description.